Joining us now, our senior correspondent covering the Richmond 2018 General Assembly for the John Fredericks Radio Network, covering it like a glove, as they say, Tommie McNeil. Tommie, good to have you with us, man.
I'm listening to you give that weather forecast. You know, I said and I predicted that someone after this cold blast was going to be walking around in shorts right afterwards, and you've already indicated that that might be you.
It is. I should go to one of the sessions today and just show up in shorts, because that might scare some people away if I did that. I could come into my big boy shorts, as they say. So I got my big boy pants on. So, Tommie, good to have you with us. Wow. Yesterday, lots going on. Let's start with our new speaker, Kirk Cox. Shelley Simons concedes. What happened?
All right. Kirk Cox becomes the 55th speaker, and he talks about a lot of bipartisanship. Okay, which that's part of what we talked about in the past. He talked about this being the floor division of two particular parties. This is in his acceptance speech. By the way, it was a unanimous vote. He talked about the floor division out of the two parties, noted that, you know, the partisan makeup is different, obviously, after this landslide victory by Democrats. And he said it's time to bridge what seemingly a 5 mile wide divide between the two. He said they're not two parties, but they're one house tasked for governing one Commonwealth. And that kind of set the tone for a lot of the Republicans to talk about working with the Democrats. And one of the things that they did was they struck a deal. This is in rules, in committee rules. This is major. The Democrats are applauding this. Now, they say the Republicans are taking credit for this move. The Republicans say that this is something that they've been wanting to do. But this is what it does. It's part of the power sharing and concession that I told you about again. It's no longer a voice vote in some of these subcommittees or any of these subcommittees, okay? And that's huge. Why? A lot of bills died in the past merely by a voice vote, not a recorded vote. And that means that, you know, people watching this couldn't really hold the people to account. Right. Now they can be held to account. And the Democrats say when it comes to key votes like Medicaid expansion or gun control, which is something else that they're talking about, instead of Republicans, as they claim, shooting down bills, no pun intended, on a mere voice vote in a subcommittee, they have to take a recorded vote, and people can now see exactly who did what and when.
So, I mean, the days of just voting something down and nobody goes on record with it and bills die in committee, those days are over, right? Because now they're going to have to record, and you're going to have to see on the record whether you go up or down. Now, the new speaker, Kirk Cox, said that the Republicans were going with what is being referred to as proportional representation on committees. Can you elaborate, Tommie McNeil, to our audience what that means?
Sure. It simply means that more Democrats will be on committees. Now, again, there was a little bit of a question and debate, and Minority Leader David Toscano talked about this on the floor yesterday. There's a question about whether or not there would be some consultation. Okay, Kirk Cox has the discretion to pick who serves on these committees, but they could also consult with the Democrats and choose exactly which Democrat would best serve on certain committees.
Right.
That's something that they've been, the Democrats want to kind of hash out before they decide all of the committees. Also, let's use House appropriations as an example. A lot of Republicans were lost. Key Republicans were lost who served on the House Appropriations Committee and committee conferees during this last election. Democrats say that they want a piece of that pie. They say this is the time to put more Democrats on that very powerful committee and see if there's some sort of power sharing agreement. They're not reaching for that just yet. Right now, they say they want more Democrats on that committee.
So when they say proportional representation, like proportional to what?
Proportional to, and if I may be speaking out of turn in a sense, but proportional in the sense that you have a proportionate, the ratio of Democrats representing the House to each committee. Does that make sense? Am I breaking that down right?
Yeah.
To your understanding.
Right. So just walk us through an example, okay? Like take any committee and just pick one and like what would be different, just so that we know the difference between then and now.
Okay, so again, last year you may have had, again, I'll use the Appropriations Committee. You lost several Republicans this year in these elections. You've got far more. I think you've got 15 new Democrats serving. Well, the ratio has dramatically decreased from Republicans to Democrats. So now Democrats say you can't stack the deck with as many Republicans. You can't have in one point, Toscano talked about 23 members serving on committee, and he wants to push for 23 members serving on each committee. And with those 23 members, you have more proportion in the sense that you could have 12 Republicans and 11 Democrats, or perhaps 11. That's the gist. 12
right. So when they're talking about proportional representation, what they're saying is, look, you got a 2-vote majority, so every committee should be 12 to 11, or you have to expand the numbers of people on so you can put more Democrats on, so they have more of a say in what's going on. Even though the Republicans are the chairman and the Republicans have the majority, right? They're not changing that, so there's not a true power share where you would make some Democrats chairman. That would be a true power share. But they're going to add more Democrats to the committee so they can have a bigger say in what goes on. Is that a fair assessment, Tommie?
That is a very fair assessment.
So, Tommie, Kirk Cox and Chris Jones got together yesterday. Chris Jones, the powerful chairman of the Appropriations Committee, the Republican from Chesapeake, and they gave Delegate Torius, who seconded Cox's nomination, they gave him the subcommittee slot on appropriations in a conciliatory move. Walk us through that and what it means.
What it means, this is a key committee. This is the general subcommittee, General Government and Capital Outlay, and it's one of those committees where decisions are made there. Again, it's a subcommittee. Decisions are made there. They're referred back to appropriations, and you make decisions from there. So, again, that's another example of power sharing. That's another example of putting more Democrats. Torian is not on the Appropriations Committee or chairing a committee itself, but a subcommittee. That's pretty significant compared to what was the case last year.
All right, so they've got Tory in there. Now let's talk about Medicaid expansion. I see the Democrats are holding a press conference today at 10:30, led by Minority Leader David Toscano. And personally, our show has changed our position on Medicaid expansion from fighting it to being in favor of it. I'm not going to go into that now. But where does that stand now? I mean, they're having a press conference. Who's driving it? And what are the chances, in your view, of Medicaid expansion in this session seeing the light of day?
I actually think Medicaid expansion, I don't know if the Democrats will get everything they want, but I really think Medicaid expansion has a strong chance of making it. And I think one of the key reasons, you mentioned Shelley Simons, one of the key reasons is David Yancey. I had conversations with some Democrats and even some of my colleagues who had interactions with David Yancey yesterday. My understanding is that after Shelley Simons conceded, she asked Yancey straightforward, do you intend to vote for Medicaid expansion? And he told her that this wasn't the time to talk about that. So that wasn't a no. When some of my colleagues alluded to that, again, they didn't get a no. And Democrats say that that's because he sees that he's vulnerable. He may have won this election, but he's still vulnerable, and he now has to, just as you discussed, reconsider his position on several key issues, including Medicaid expansion. And they also say that there are other Republicans who may find themselves vulnerable in the next election cycle who will have to reconsider their position. And those are the Republicans that the Democrats are going to be targeting. They don't talk so much in the Senate. It almost seems like they think that they have the Senate in the bag. It's the House that they're after. And all you need is 2 votes in the House on the Democratic side to get Medicaid expansion. So I think that it's something that you will very likely see this year.
You need 2 votes in the House. We've got Glenn Davis coming on at 8:05. Glenn Davis voted for a type of Medicaid expansion 2 sessions ago. So we're going to get his take on it, but I think they're going to pick 2 up. And in the Senate, they have a 21-19 majority, right? So Emmett Hanger votes for it. That's 2020. And as we talked about yesterday, this wouldn't come up through a budget bill. So if it just comes up as a regular bill, it's a 2020 tie. Justin Fairfax votes in favor of it, and you get Medicaid expansion in Virginia. And the reason I'm in favor of it, Tommie, and I fought it for 3 sessions, is because when the Republicans were pushing repeal and replace Obamacare at the federal level, when they had their final bill, every version they had the Republican states, Indiana, Arkansas, Ohio, and others, that took the Medicaid expansion money. Every single version of Obamacare replace they had, repeal and replace, had Medicaid expansion funded in perpetuity. So, and what they did to Virginia is they said the states that didn't take it are going to get a smaller block grant. So you have absolutely no incentive now not to take the money from the federal government. I mean, it's, in fact, if you don't take it, you get less. And if you do take it, the Republicans have already shown you that they're going to fund this in perpetuity. And then the 10% gap, which when the federal government goes to only funding 90% of it, the VHHA, the Hospital Association, has said they will kick in the other 10% and they'll put that in the bill. So you have no risk to me. You got 400,000 people, working people in Virginia, hard-working people, uninsured. Either the money is going to go to them or it's going to go to Governor Moonbeam in San Francisco or Sacramento, wherever he is. So I'm in favor of it. Okay, now that we got the House set, Governor McCullough's farewell speech yesterday, we were at the mansion for his reception. What's been kind of the take on the governor's legacy from the people that you spoke with? What do they think? The Republicans, the Democrats love him. Democrats say that he set the stage for everything that's happening, this groundswell for the Democrats, the legacy that now Governor-elect Ralph Northam wants to create for himself. The Republicans, on the other hand, they say, he's got a lot of energy. Yeah, he's done a lot for the Commonwealth. He's brought jobs, but he's taking a lot of credit for things that weren't necessarily his doing. There were things that Republicans either decided to move and he took he took credit for it, or they compromised and he gave the credit to Democrats. And last night's speech talked to Majority Leader Todd Gilbert. And he said he would like a new relationship with Governor-elect Northam. He believes that Northam understands the legislature better, understands the Commonwealth better, is not going to be as much of a partisan as Governor McAuliffe was. And some of the comments and some of the shots that Governor McAuliffe has taken over the years, and particularly last night, is classic McAuliffe. So they're saying, wait and see. We'll see what Northam does, but we really want to see Northam get in there as soon as possible. Well, look, a lot of what happened with McAuliffe is a lot of Republicans got a bad taste in their mouth right off the bat when he was willing to shut the government down over Medicaid expansion, which he believed that he ran on. And, also people mix his governing of Virginia with his national political ambitions, his ties to the Clintons, the fact that, he constructed a massive Democratic organization in Virginia that the Republicans can't touch. I mean, they got 55 full-time people. The Republican Party of Virginia has 3. He funded it. So that aggravates him. But when you look at his policies as governor, I mean, other than the money they blew on that Chinese company in the economic fund where they didn't do the proper vetting, and, maybe you can criticize or be lane for flying around on a private jet, but that really wasn't the governor's doing. And then I think he screwed the deal we had on Colonial Downs. But these are very tiny, minor things. When you look at his legacy, what has he done bad? What bill has he signed that's bad? What has he done bad? He negotiated the concealed weapon gun reciprocity that made some of the anti-gun people, they went crazy over it. He did that. He got a lot done. He brought a lot of jobs here. So when you look at his policies, I mean, I defy any Republican to tell me what did Terry McAuliffe did that you didn't like policy-wise in Virginia. He brought jobs, worked his ass off, went all over the world, brought a lot of jobs in, people that have jobs now that didn't have them in the past. What did he do? I mean, what bill did he veto that you wanted to have? What, the bathroom bill so we can get screwed like Charlotte did? What did he do? I think he's been a fabulous governor.
I'll tell you from their perspective. From their perspective, and the RNC actually issued a statement after the governor's speech last night. And, there are these campaign slogans because they think that this speech last night was all about him running for president. This is the precursor for him running for president. And some of the campaign slogans sent out is McAuliffe for president, putting $44 tolls first. Another says McAuliffe for president, due diligence is overrated. Another says McAuliffe for president, putting felons first, guarding the the many Republicans. I mean, I should say Republicans, the felons whose rights he restored. There's another that says McAuliffe for president, putting fake Chinese websites first. So they think that the governor really launched this campaign so that he could be eventually be a cabinet member for then presidential candidate Hillary
Clinton. All of that again. But Tommie, all of that is they don't like his national ambitions. And by the way, he is going. Right. I talked to him last night. He is going to run for president. And, they got a strategy, and it makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it's going to be very formidable. But all of this that aggravates Republicans is because of his national stature. And when you go back and you look at Virginia, I don't know. I mean, I think I give him an A. I give him an A+. And, yeah, they screwed that thing up with that fake Chinese company. But, that was they just screwed it up. But there was no scandals. And as far as the tolls are concerned, I mean, look, he's trying to fix roads, then they got to get that worked out. But I'd give him an A. All right, look, we're just about out of time, and I want to thank Tommie McNeil for being with us for this segment, giving us the insight. Tommie, we look forward to tomorrow and some of the scuttlebutt coming up. Thanks for that very in-depth update on the Virginia General Assembly. We're live today in Richmond.